Did you know that on Sydney Harbour floats a ship that once undertook one of the most daring missions of the Second World War? Well, if you want to hear about it, you're in the right place. I'm at the Australian National Maritime Museum, and this is the MV Krait. It was built in 1934 in Japan. It was originally called the Kafuku Maru, and it was a fishing vessel. So it used to go around Indonesia and collect fish from all of these fishing vessels and then take the fish back to Singapore. It was instrumental in the evacuation of Singapore, where people were shipped from Singapore to Sumatra as the Japanese takeover began. At this time, at the start of the Second World War, it was selected to be the perfect vessel to undertake a covert secret mission. So it was brought to Australia and it was stationed in Broken Bay to the north of Sydney. And there was a really intense training regime where 14 Australian and British commandos prepared for the mission. They then went around the top of Australia and over to Exmouth Gulf, where they then set their sights on Singapore. They had to be really careful to maintain their image as Japanese fishermen so they didn't get seen. They also had to be really careful that no rubbish with English writing on it fell out of the boat while they were heading across to Singapore. So they stopped 50 kilometres out of Singapore Harbour, where they deployed 6 little foldable canoes. They paddled into the harbour in the middle of the night and attached magnetic mines to 6 huge big Japanese transport ships. They then went back to their hiding place and the mines were detonated, destroying 6 ships and sinking 26,000 tonnes of Japanese cargo into the bottom of the harbour. This was a huge victory for the Allied forces. It really compromised the hold that the Japanese had over Singapore, but it was also detrimental for the locals. The Japanese had no idea who even did this mission, and so they thought it was an internal sabotage. So mass arrests were made and even executions were undertaken. It was absolutely horrific. So the unassuming Krait then went back to Western Australia completely undetected. It was then bought by a British sawmill owner in Borneo, and in the 1950s, 2 Australian men recognised it. There was a public appeal which called for its return to Australia, so it was brought back to Australia in 1964, and it was used as a volunteer search and rescue vessel until it was bought by the Australian War Memorial in 1985, and it's been stationed here at the Maritime Museum ever since. So to recognise 80 years since the end of the Second World War in the Pacific, the Maritime Museum have a fantastic trail on at the moment where you can come and see some incredible World War II artefacts, including the Krait that you can actually do guided tours through. It's well worth a look.